So here's what we're working on today. 57 Corvette dual quad setup. Engine has been freshly rebuilt, nicely restored dual quads. A bunch of wrong pieces with the ignition, but that's alright. Customer brought it to me on a trailer. Wouldn't run. Backfires, puking, nasty. And claims that it will overheat in about 15 minutes of running, all the way to the point of kind of boiling. So I've already pulled the spark plugs out. They were all fouled, obviously. I did a compression check to make sure that there was nothing just obviously wrong with the motor, and put the spark plugs back in. Now I'm going to start up and see if we can get it running and see if it will actually run for me enough so that I can continue doing some diagnostics. Some of the background info that the owner brought to me. This is the receipt from the machine shop so that I can get some idea as to what was done to it previously. And unfortunately, this is an original 265 Chevrolet V8 in the 57 Corvette, and looks like they had to put some cylinder sleeves, and there were some valve stuff that was leaking. They drilled and tapped the crank, assembled the engine, surfaced the intake, so on and so forth. But here's where it gets interesting. They grooved the cam journal so that they can run a hydraulic cam in here, and it looks like they are running a nostalgia grind of the 3030 cam, which we'll see, that's pretty big. Clutch kit, yada yada yada, shop supplies and environmental charge, add on another $50 for good measure. Total invoice of $5,434.34. Cam card, nostalgia grind, and let's look at the specs. Okay, we only really care about what's going on at 50 thousandths lift, and we've got 239 246 on a 40 over 265 cubic inch small block. Can you say overcammed? You know, it's kind of my opinion, and I'm probably going to get a lot of crap thrown at me for saying this, but if you're actually going to drive these vehicles on the street, you probably should never have a cam bigger than 218, or at the most 224-ish at 50 thousandths. You know, that's just kind of my personal opinion. And if you're going to run air conditioning, you need to go smaller, and if you're going to run an automatic, you need to even go smaller than that. It's really common for people to overcam. They read about all this bullshit in magazines and so on and so forth, and so they get stuck with this vehicle that overheats, won't run, won't idle. I mean, and is just way too aggressive to really use and enjoy. And I suspect that's a lot of what we've got going on here. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing the machine shop, because, you know, I mean, they're trying to resurrect an old block, which, you know, in my opinion, probably shouldn't have been resurrected, because for that amount of money, you could have put a pretty awesome, non-leaking, really reliable, well-built crate motor in this car and had absolutely no problems. And so the problem here is that per customer request on the camshaft. So you know, he's trying to, a lot of the value in these cars is in their originality, and this may or may not be an original engine, but, you know, for all practical purposes it is. Apparently it's a dated block, so on and so forth, doesn't really matter. So anyway, that's the backstory. So I'm going to put the camera on a tripod and we'll see if we can get it running and then I'll kind of walk you through some of the diagnostics of the symptoms and what is happening. So I've got a timing light hooked up to the Corvette, and I've got a screwdriver ready to do some quick rough adjustments, so that if I get it running, I can just kind of quickly try and get this stuff roughed in so that I can check the initial timing. A lot of times when you decide you're going to run a big cam, you need to run more initial timing. And so for a small block Chevy, about 36 degrees total timing is kind of what you are shooting for. And so in order for it to idle smooth and to compensate for the massive camshaft, you're probably going to want to run an initial timing somewhere around 15, but if you add it to the initial, you need to take it off of the total. So even though you set your initial at 15 to kind of smooth out the cam and get a little bit of engine vacuum, you're going to need to take that off of the other end. The choke closed, that's a good sign. Well, it won't stay running. Since I sandblasted the spark plugs and did the compression test, it actually sounds better than it did before. So it's got about 6 degrees of initial timing. So we're going to go ahead and bump that up. So the distributor actually, as you look down on the top of it, the distributor actually rotates clockwise. And so to advance the timing, you want to rotate the distributor housing counterclockwise so that the rotor will hit that post on the distributor cap sooner. So I'm going to try and rotate it here. They don't give it some more timing. We'll see if that'll smooth it out. If that doesn't smooth it out, I'm hoping that'll help. Give it a little more timing to get it to kind of compensate for that cam. I set the initial timing at about 15, and it will idle. About 900. The choke's all the way off, so that's a good sign. Oh, we're starting to get some backfire. So when you start to get some backfire like that, it means that the mixture is all wrong. It's too rich. That's all the way in. Set those two idle adjusting screws at 1 turn. Those screws right there adjust how much air bypasses. So I've done some quick preliminary adjustments on the idle mixture screws there, and also on the front right there. You can get at those with a 1/4 inch, just a long 1/4 inch wrench. We've got it down to idle about 900, which I think is probably going to be about as good as it's going to get. The fan is going the right way. I can feel the air from the fan, and the thermostat has opened because I can feel the air change from cold to warm. Our temp is staying below 180. So I've had the Corvette running for a while, and according to the gauge, it's not overheating. It's still below 180. One of these infrared thermometers works awesome. So at the top of the radiator, right at the inlet, it's 173. So we got about 180 degrees right there at the top of the radiator. And then if you can get a hold of that, get on the lower hose, 126, 130. See if you can sometimes kind of map the radiator. 160. So we got about a 20. So we got about a 20 degree difference across the radiator based off of the infrared. So I mean, radiator's working, and the thermostat definitely opens up and is holding it below 180 at this point. And you would imagine that the driving it would actually make it better. So I'll probably put it on the scope, try to get it tuned a little bit better, see what the distributor's doing, and then see how rich the carbs are before I test drive it to see if it's just tuning is why it's overheating. So my guess is that the camshaft is just too friggin' big, and for a driver car, you know, over cam is not what you want to do.